Hello and welcome to my channel. So as you can probably see from the other side of the screen here, today going to be doing a tier list, and specifically doing a Cosmere tier list because I don't know if you guys saw these videos, but a while back I saw a couple of people do these Cosmere tier lists, and like they hadn't even read all of the Cosmere, so I was pretty offended. It was like, I don't know, like Walter Wright's 8 and like Andre's Magical Reads or something, and like they hadn't even read like several of the novellas, so obviously aren't like true Cosmere fans like yours truly. So I figured I better do my own Cosmere tier list because I have read all of the novellas as well. So let's tier list. So let's see where we are starting here. Might have to change some of these around once I actually get into it. But speaking of the novellas and short stories, we start with Arcanum Unbounded. So it is kind of weird that this is included and like all of the things that are in it are also here. But for now, I'll go ahead and put it in an A because the actual stories are here too. But I actually quite liked Arcanum Unbounded. A lot of the novellas were pretty interesting. It combines a bunch of them, and you get like the extra little history bits, so it felt pretty cool. So I'll put that there, and then we'll see if I end up changing it. But I liked it as a whole package. I thought it worked out well. So next up we have Elantris here, which I'm going to put B. Now I'm going to note that for the most part, I like pretty much everything on here. So this is really just ranking between themselves. We probably won't have anything get to D, but I'm just kind of trying to put these in order so that it's not like everything up top, because I love me some Sanderson. But a lot of people give Elantris a lot of flack. I mean, it was Sanderson's first published book, and it's like pretty darn good. It's not a perfect book by any means, but like it's a solid book for a debut, especially. It's very good. But even like it's not the first one of his books I read. I went back and read it a little bit later after I'd already read some of his other books like Warbreaker and Mistborn. I still really enjoyed it, so I think it's pretty good. Okay, I said we probably wouldn't use D tier, but you know what? We're gonna set the tone for what I'm gonna try and use the whole spectrum here. And the 11th Metal wasn't like terrible, but it just really felt unnecessary. This was like a little short story novella that took place prior to the Final Empire that involved Kelsier looking for the 11th Metal, and it does play into a couple of things later that come up like within Secret History, just kind of it teases that some things are possible, basically, and that come up a little bit later in the series in general. But it was one that really just felt unnecessary to me. And like, I read it, it was fine. But if we're talking Sanderson, this is going to be bottom of the Cosmere tier for me. And what a coincidence. You know, we're just going to go ahead and put Allomancer Jack and the Pits of Eltania there, too. I never really cared for that. When I was reading Era 2, I just didn't really care that much about the little broadsheet things, and I'm thinking like maybe if I read it all together, it'll be better. And now I just like I felt like there was supposed to be some like big secret there, and maybe I'm just not remembering what it was, but it wasn't my thing, so we're going to put that there as well. Then we have Mistborn's Secret History. I liked Mistborn's Secret History. I thought it was really interesting. I've always wanted to do like actually read the trilogy and then like swap out and figure out the exact right times to read it, because it's very much made to be like a companion to the entire Mistborn trilogy. So maybe someday I'll figure that out and do some sort of like read through here. But I'm going to go ahead and put that B. I enjoyed it. It did a lot to build out the Cosmere world as a whole. And so just being a Cosmere nerd, I really liked getting to see that. So I'm going to go ahead and put it B for now here. So then we have the first Mistborn, the Final Empire. I got to put that up in S. So it was the second, I think, Sanderson book that I read, and I really, really love it. I've heard a lot of people even say they feel like it could have been a standalone, and I liked the rest of the series too, of Era 1 especially, but the first book, so good. Takes something really interesting, the idea of after, what if, the bad guy wins? What happens next? And then even after that's done, then it's kind of like, well, what happens after the big thing is done, and kind of figuring it out from there. So it was really interesting. I think definitely he's improved as a writer since writing his early books, but they still had a lot of good in there. So next up we have Hero of Ages, which I don't want to put too many things in S tier, so I really enjoyed Hero of Ages, but I'm going to go ahead and put that in A, and Well of Ascension in B, just because this is, I think, the order I liked them. I love the first one. I really, really liked the second one, or the third one, I mean. The second one I don't think is a bad book either. I've also heard people complain a lot about it. It had some slow parts. It had some kind of weird stuff, but honestly, like, I wonder, I'm like, do I just remember it being better than it is? Because even when it was new, people were like, oh, this is a little slow, and you can tell he's a newer author. But when I went and read this a couple years ago, reread it again, I'm like, I still really like the book, so I don't really have a lot of complaints. I really don't. So next up, then we've got, looks like Era 2. So it's been a bit since I've read Era 2 because I've been waiting for the fourth one to reread. So I'm going to try and do these together as well. So I think I like Bands of Mourning the most. And then probably like Alloy of Law and Shadows of Self. Though now that I'm thinking about it, Shadows of Self, I don't remember a lot about that specifically. The first and the third stick out more. So I'm going to kind of a little bit arbitrarily put it in C, just because that's the one I can't remember nearly as much about. So probably need to read more with it. Edge Dancer. So a lot of people also don't like Edge Dancer. And I think it's a pretty good story. I'm not a huge fan of Lift, but it's a good story. I'll put that at the top of C right now here, because I don't think it holds up to the other stuff that's up in B at this point. So that's what we'll do here. So now we got the hard ones. I don't know why these are all out of order. Can I move them? Oh, I can move them. So let's put these in order for Stormlight Archive. So this is one of those things too where I try not to say it's one of my favorite series because it's not done, but like it's gonna be one of my favorites, if not my favorite. I think it definitely has that potential. And man, Way of Kings, I love so much. It's my favorite Stormlight book. It's not the best Stormlight book, because I'm gonna put Words of Radiance up here in S tier too, because I actually do think Words of Radiance is objectively the best book. I've said that before. It was just so well done. But my Kaladin arc in Way of Kings is just, I love it. Every time I read it, I still love it. I've read Way of Kings at least 3 to 4 times at this point. And so, because I always reread the previous books when the new one comes out. So I read it, then reread it for 2, 3, and 4. So yeah, 4 times I've read Way of Kings. And I just appreciate it more every time. I didn't really care as much about Shallan my first time through, and then after reading Words of Radiance, I came to appreciate her a lot more even in the first book. I just love it. Words of Radiance, though, if that's your favorite Stormlight, I get it. I think it's objectively the best. It was just so well done. The pacing was really good. There were so many fantastic set pieces where you really got a lot of character development and a lot going on. So that was just definitely awesome. Rhythm of War, I'm definitely going to have to put in A tier here. I realized I hadn't been moving because we can't have Arcanum Unbounded in front of the actual other books, so I think I'll go in that order. I really, really liked Rhythm of War. It had some kind of weird pacing in some ways because we were really doing a swap for what characters we're going to focus on in the back half, and I think that was very intentional. But it was still great. And Oathbringer is my least favorite, which is why I waited. I still really like Oathbringer. I'm going to put it at the top of B here. This was the slowest book, and I completely acknowledge that there's some kind of parts where it's just like, okay, let's get on with it. The ending, though, was fantastic, and I feel like made up for a lot of it. So now we're getting into more of the short stories. I'm going to skip past these for a minute and just go ahead and put Warbreaker up in S tier as well. That was actually my first Sanderson book. I've reread it a few times too. Really, really enjoy it. Unique, and I think this was one of the books, his earlier books, where he was really starting to like turn the corner and become a lot more talented as an author as well. So that's pretty great. We should probably grab Dawn Shard too. I liked Dawn Shard. Where did I put? I feel like I liked Dawn Shard because I liked the characters that we got to look at, but it also probably wasn't as good as some of these other things. So I'm just gonna do some moving around here. Yeah, that's what we're gonna go with right now. So I know I'm not. Some people are really high on Era 2. I didn't like Era 2 as much as Era 1. Still liked it, but this is where we're going. Trying to get them all nice and spread out. So Shadows for Silence in the Forests of Hell, which is one of my favorite names of a Sanderson book. I actually really liked this one. I'm going to put it in A. It's going to be at the bottom of A because it is just a novella, but it was super interesting and just a really different tone, different for Sanderson in what he writes, because it had a lot of kind of horror elements. And I really want to go back to this world and take a more look at it. I'm pretty excited to. So that was one that was really, really interesting. And then Six of the Dusk, that's the one with the AVR, which plays in some later. I liked that one as well, too. I'm going to go ahead and put that in B here. I feel like I have too many Bs. Maybe I'll have to move around otherwise here. So let's see what we got. Hope of Elantris, I'll go ahead and put C. It's not bad. It was fine. It didn't feel as unnecessary as the 11th Metal, but it was just something kind of added later. It wasn't super needed. See, Emperor's Soul, I'm not sure where to put, because I know this will probably be controversial, but I didn't like that as much as everybody else seems to. I've heard a lot of people say they think that's like his best work, and I do not agree. Like, I liked it just fine. It was still good, but not nearly that much. So I think we're going to move up. Let's move up Oathbringer to A here. Spread it out, and then we'll put Emperor's Soul. Let's do, you go here. You go here. Yeah, we're going to do it that. We're going to do it that way. And then White Sand. White Sand I'll put it at the bottom of D, or at the top of D. I don't really like graphic novels that much. I read the first one. This is where I do have to admit that the second and third I have not read, so I lied a little bit when I made it seem as if I had read every single Cosmere thing. I just didn't really like the format. I read the prose version in Arcanum Unbounded, which I much preferred for the first one, and it annoys me that I can't have prose versions of something that's Cosmere relevant, so I'm hoping we'll get those later. But that's about it. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna put these down here because that's probably where they would be if I would have read those ones. So I think this looks pretty good. It's a little bit hard to rank a bunch of books that for the most part I really, really enjoyed all over one another, but I try not to put too much up here. These four 100% belong in S tier, and I'm pretty happy with everything here in A and B as well, and then kind of the C ones that are just ones that weren't as memorable. Very few go in D tier, and still these things, I don't think, like I said, any of this is bad, but that's kind of where I end up here. So let me know what you think of my list. I joked earlier, I'll have Andrew and Walker's videos a link down below. They're the ones who had done this before, so if you're seeing this one, you've probably seen theirs. So if not, check theirs out. We had a lot of actually differing opinions here, so it was pretty interesting seeing their lists, and it's what made me want to do mine. So let me know, agree, disagree, what are your thoughts on my list, and we will definitely go and have that conversation. Always happy to. If you want to talk more Cosmere or any other books, we have lots of discussion topics over in the Wizardly Duo Discord, so check the link down below for that. And don't forget to give this video a like if you enjoyed it. And of course, if you want to see more of my content, make sure to subscribe. And let me know, do you like tier lists? I know a lot of booktubers do these. This is the first one I've ever done. It was kind of interesting to do, but let me know if you're a tier list type person or not, or if you want to see less or more of these types of videos. Roll end credits.